So in this video, I wanted to go over a watch that I was given the opportunity to review, mostly because of the watch that it was, because I really haven't seen anything like this on YouTube. So in my hand, I'm holding an Omega Super Clone Aqua Terra Worldtimer. This is a fake watch. The person who lent the watch to me gave me a couple of conditions. Number one, they wanted to remain anonymous. And number two, I was not supposed to disclose how this watch was acquired. If you comment and ask, sure, how did the person get the watch? I'm not going to respond to those kinds of questions. And for the record, I want to say that I do not condone the purchasing of fake watches. I'm making this video because I thought it was somewhat of a unique watch and the sheer difficulty of a piece like this one to get right. Basically doing this watch for educational purposes. I'm trying to maybe help somebody point out some of the red flags that I've noticed. I want to try to help people identify areas that you can easily look at and see if it's a potential fake. So one more thing I wanted to say, that before you come out with your pitchforks on me and start downvoting this video, I just want to say that there are a lot of big YouTubers out there that have done videos on like fake watches before, comparing fake Rolexes, which are a dime a dozen. Honestly, I think this is probably a much harder watch to fake than a Rolex. This is a really good fake. This would fool pretty much, other than like the most knowledgeable Omega enthusiast, this would probably fool everybody. 99%, 99.9% of people. In fact, probably 99.99%. But I did notice a few things and I want to point them out in this video. First of all, I just want to go through some of the aspects of the watch that are done well. I mean, I think the dial is probably one of the strongest areas of this watch. I really haven't seen much of any issues with the dial. The applied markers look correct. The like wooden plank design of the lines throughout the dial look correct. All the 24 cities listed on the dial, it all looks good. Honestly, there aren't a lot of glaring issues with the dial. I mean, it's hard to say. The one area that I think there might be a little bit of a discrepancy between the real Worldtimer and this one is that I noticed that there's a little bit more green in the map area than the real. I think the real one's more like more like brownish. It's not as colorful as this one. There isn't much of other than that. The real version, and I'll probably put a picture up on the screen here, is done with like a laser etching kind of thing, and it actually uses the laser itself to create the colors. It's a crazy process. It's super expensive and probably very difficult to develop and do, and that's why this watch costs about $9,000 to $10,000. The little Omega screws, I believe the screw system is the same as an original Omega. Case back looks good. All of the little markings here on the case are, it's supposed to say stainless steel, or there's your numbers there. But there's little markings that say stainless steel on the back of the display case back. It says, just like the original has that. There's a little mark. The Omega mark is here as well, as it should be in the original. As you can see, the movement looks pretty spot on. I'm going to show you some close-up shots of the movement. I took the best quality video that I could, and still images to show you. Maybe you're wondering, does it have all the Worldtimer functionality? And the answer is they actually got it all working. So if I'm actually moving the time, and you can see the disc is moving as well. So that is working as it should. If you have it on the first position, you should be able to move the hour hand independently. So there you go. And I can move it back. So it goes back and forward. So I can go back, and this does, just like the original, there is no quick set date. So I can move this independently, the hour hand, just like a GMT, a real GMT, not a collar GMT, but a real GMT has the same functionality right there. So they managed to get that done right. So that is definitely not the flaw, but maybe you can see a bit of a hint, or maybe you've already seen a bit of a hint as probably one of the bigger red flags that this watch has. Again, and it screws down quite nicely. As far as, the original is rated as 150 meters of water resistance. I have no idea. I don't know if this would hold up to anything. Honestly, I probably wouldn't even try with one of these, but it looks, it has a screw down crown. My guess is it would be somewhat water resistance, but I don't know. I have no idea. I have no idea. That's why you're paying, thousands and thousands of dollars to a company to get one of these watches, because they test them and they can guarantee that they will withstand that kind of pressure. But when you're buying a watch like this for, I think the person paid about $700 for this thing. So again, a sizable discount from the original, but yeah, there are some drawbacks to buying a watch like this. Again, and this, once you buy this watch, there is no value. So I wanted to bring out another watch that I felt is somewhat of an appropriate watch to talk about. So I'm talking about a replica here. This is a straight up replica, a so-called super clone watch. And this is an homage watch, right? So the only thing that really separates this watch from this watch is the fact that, Javril over here didn't put the Rolex logo on the dial, because other than that, it'd be a pretty good Rolex clone. If I opened up the case of this watch, and you're going to see a very generic ETA-based movement back here, nothing very decorated, probably plain Jane kind of movement. Yeah, that's why I just wanted to kind of point that out, that there are options without going into like a full-on replica. You can get yourself a really nice homage watch and get pretty much the same look. So let's take a look at the movement, and I'm going to try to point out a few things that I noticed that are not correct. Again, you can't see it from this shot because I'm not getting enough light and I'm not zoomed in enough, but if you look at some pictures of the original, you can see that the lettering is much more refined. The finishing of the red lettering that says Omega Master Chronometer and all that 8938 movement it's much better done. It's just better. It's more higher quality. Everything, it just looks more refined. If you look at this one, it's pretty good, but it's not quite perfect. That's one thing I noticed. Also, the machining from if you're looking at it about up to even 6 inches away. In fact, with the naked eye, you really can probably tell a difference with the finishing. But once you get close up, there are some. I wouldn't call the finishing perfect. But then again, you have to be up there with a macro lens to tell the difference. There is one glaring issue here. Right by the balance wheel, it looks like there is a little, I guess, lever that you would use to regulate the watch, and that is not present in the original. So that's something to look for, and I'll point it out with an arrow or something so you can see that better. But that is something to look out for. So right now I want to point out the biggest flaw, or the biggest red flag on this watch. I currently have it on my time grapher. As you can see, the original watch is a 3.5 hertz watch. In other words, it beats at 25,200 vibrations per hour, and this one beats at 28,800. And obviously it's, although it's pretty darn accurate at -4, -5, -5, it's pretty darn accurate. It's definitely not as accurate as Ameda's, one of these master chronometers that Omega makes. If you have access to a time grapher, I would definitely, and you're not sure, and they're willing to let you, take it to a watchmaker and maybe just have them put it on the time grapher, that can save you thousands of dollars right there. The fact that, all of these people that are copying these watches are not going to reverse engineer the Omega 3.5 hertz movement. They're going to take a Swiss-based movement and just kind of decorate it up to make it look like an Omega. Obviously, they did a really good job, and within you can be within like inches and not really notice a difference, but it's really that is the biggest red flag right there. So that could save you. You can buy a time grapher for about $120, $140, and even if it turns out to be a real watch, it's really not it's probably worth it. If you're on the fence and you're not sure, and they're willing to let you put it on a time grapher, I would go ahead and do that, because that is the biggest red flag right there. Now that I put the watch on the time grapher, one of the most glaring, if you know a lot about Omega watches and you're very familiar with the 3.5 hertz sweep, which is slightly less smooth than a 4 hertz sweep, of course, that would probably be a a red flag, but most people aren't going to notice that. They're just going to think, oh, look at that nice fancy sweep. I can see the difference between a 3 hertz and a 4 hertz very easily. It's a little harder to do 3.5 hertz. So, but I'm sure a lot of Omega fans, big on Omega enthusiasts, can probably tell the difference and see, oh, that doesn't look quite right. So that's definitely you don't even need to put it on a time grapher to see that. So if you're out there and you're interested in this watch and you say you come across a deal that's too good to be true, if they're trying to sell you a watch that's way under market value, there's got to be there might be a problem with it. This thing is too close for comfort, man. This is really, this is actually kind of scary because nobody would ever know. If you're wearing this, even like the most diehard like Omega guy would probably not know that this is a fake, because it's so close. It's not perfect, but it's definitely really, really close. And that kind of goes to show how good they've gotten at replicating these things. It's just crazy how spot on and good and accurate this thing is, and the fact that everything works on it. And it's actually pretty darn accurate. Well, anyway, I hope you found this entertaining, and it's a little different from what I usually do. I don't think this probably won't be a regular thing. I mean, I guess based on the reception that I get from this video is whether I'll even entertain the idea of doing another watch like this. I'm not answering any questions on how the watch was purchased. Again, just not going to do that. You can leave any comments you want, but if you ask about that, I'm just going to not reply to it. If a lot of chatter starts popping up of people sharing how to get these watches, I'm just going to turn off the comments altogether. Well, anyway, I hope you found this somewhat entertaining, somewhat educational, and I hope it might prevent somebody from ending up with a bogus watch. So that is my goal. That's all I'm going for with this video. So if you found this video entertaining, it would be really great if you could like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.